What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video on the channel today. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below if you have yet to do so. Also, if you want to follow us on social media and our Discord, links for everything is right down below in the description section. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So I finally got to check out Boogie 2988's dark new documentary that is directed by Mike Clum. Now, Mike Clum has a very unique style when it comes to documentary filming, and I have fallen in love with it. I think a lot of documentaries should fall under this type of direction and production, especially when it comes to YouTube videos. But Mike Clum, he recently did a documentary, as I stated, on Boogie 2988, who has been a big YouTuber, and he's been a content creator since the very beginning in 2006. That's a long time for this guy. And Boogie, he's a big guy. He started out doing videos on Magic the Gathering, World of Warcraft, video games, card games, whatever. This is a man who has a strong hobby with nerdom. And yes, I did make that phrase up, a strong hobby with nerdom. This guy is a big nerd, but I do respect him. You know, he has a lot of good hobbies. This is a guy who has made millions, possibly millions, or maybe even thousands of dollars off of YouTube, doing what he does best, a bunch of physical skits. And he is known well for his sketch character, Francis. That's where I fell in love with him ever since. And this is a guy who has done a lot of videos since then. He's done a lot of dark territory-like videos talking about his health, talking about his personal life, what's going on, while still coping with stress, with depression, with a lot of different health issues, with his weight management and all kind of things. He even had a bypass surgery done on him that's taken a limit to him, and he's still managing on going. And now he is diagnosed with a certain form of cancer, I believe, within the past year, and he's doing very fine for himself. You know, he's coping with it. He's doing very well. He's even with a new girlfriend who is half his age roughly, who is 20 years old, but she is still an adult. And I believe I already did a video on that, my opinion on the relationship with that. If you guys have yet to see that video, I'm going to link it down in the description section. You guys can check that out. So what are my thoughts on the documentary after watching it? It's an hour-long documentary on the dark side of Boogie. And there's a lot of things to really talk about when it comes to Boogie's life in general. Now, whether this documentary is filming 100% fact, or if it's just trying to be a mockumentary and add some detail into it, to add some darker stuff to his life, to add dark details, to make you the viewer feel more terrible for him, to make you feel bad for him and have respect for him. Honestly, after watching the guy for 10 plus years, I do have respect for him, because this is somebody who has suffered greatly, physically and mentally, over the years from all kinds of different abuse. He's been struggling through a lot of grand shit, and he's managed to make it through while gaining controversy on the internet, live streaming, to doing videos or being a part of videos that has turned him into a felon in his home state, which is pretty sad, because when you look down, when it comes down to it, okay, you have another person who is a big troll, who's a big hater of this guy, and he goes on the internet and he learns every dirty little secret about him, every dark little secret. This is somebody who hates another human being. Hates another human being that this person has not met in life. Decides to go out to his house to harass him. And this guy, Boogie, Steven, however you want to call him, decides he's going to defend himself, because he knows this guy's out there to do something to him. He doesn't know what. So Steven comes out with a gun. And of course he fires it in the air. That's something you don't do. You don't discharge a firearm in open public, because even though the bullet's going up in the air, there's velocity to it. It's still going to come down. It's still going to hit somebody. So it's possible that day Boogie 2988 could have murdered somebody or put somebody in a hospital from a stray bullet, and he didn't know anything about it. Nobody knew where the bullet came from. But that's where this type of lifestyle on YouTube comes from. And I plan on doing a separate video of that, so you guys can look forward to hearing me rant about that. But going back to Boogie, like his lifestyle from, becoming a felon to having this on his record, to his physical and mental conditions, to the fact that he does not know how to budget his money very well. Now, when it comes down to money, if I was a millionaire, if I had a ton of money, I know exactly what I would do with it. But I wouldn't squander it away. Of course, about a good 85 to 90% of that money would be, in savings accounts, checking accounts. I would make sure I have that stuff set to grow for me. I would make sure I pay my taxes. But I would also still work, too. I would still work to bring money in, because even though they say YouTube doesn't last forever and that income can always go away, so can any kind of money in your bank account. So anything you have saved up, you really got to learn to budget and learn to stretch money as far as it can go, because money is only an object. When you acquire money, whether you're working or you come across a small fortune of that nature, you got to learn to set your boundaries financially and learn how to save money. And that's where Boogie has fallen off the wagon with that, because he even said in a documentary that his previous wife, who he got divorced from a few years ago, she always worked with his finances. She knew everything about his finances. She knew how to, she knew how to do everything well with his money. And then when they separated and they got divorced, he was on his own. And he doesn't know how to do any of that. My dude is close to 50 years old, and he doesn't know how to manage a buck. And that is pretty sad, on the type of education that he has, because he stated that he has no education at all. He didn't really fully complete school. That's another sad thing. So you would think, in his time of being on YouTube, doing what he's doing, you would think that he would go to school, online maybe, and get an education. That way, when something like this arises, when something happens, you can go out into the real world and you can have an education to back you. Even if you don't have any real work ethic or work experience, you do have something to back. And that's another part of the documentary, is where he tries to go out and meet with a bunch of social workers to get a job. And they're usually temp agencies. Usually that's the first place to go. If you can't get in with like a McDonald's somewhere or whatever, you go to a temp agency and see what they can do for you with your condition. And unfortunately, everything he laid out on the table, it shut him down. Including, this guy included, he included pornography as part of his resume. Like, my dude, you don't go in somewhere and say, hey, I want to be a gigolo. I want to shake my big old ass around and collect $100 bills. No, you don't put something like that in a standard resume when it comes to looking for a job. You just don't do that. So there was just so much with this documentary that really has you scratching your head and thinking, why can't this guy just go out and do something normally? He's an adult. I understand that he's physically unable. He can be mentally unable to do certain things, but that doesn't stop somebody like that. I know people who are mentally incapable or physically incapable of doing certain things, and they still go out on a daily. They still go out daily, and they're able to do stuff. They're able to go to the supermarket. They're able to walk down the street. They're able to do a job. How is it that somebody who is blind as hell or deaf as hell can have a job, but somebody like Boogie can't? And I know a lot of people will defend that and say, well, it's because he's big, he's over 400 pounds, he's got all these medical things wrong with him, he's got a lot of issues. Yeah, so does half of the fucking world. So does half of the goddamn world. They have all kind of issues, but you know what? At the end of the day, you gotta be able to push yourself and make it through. That's what a lot of us do. Shit, I would probably kill to retire off of $1 billion and just lay around and do nothing. But, also at the same time, your body starts to deteriorate. That's something I learned when it comes to with old age. If you don't keep moving around, if you don't keep your body focused and keep all that energy flowing, you're going to fail miserably. You're going to die young. You're going to die in so much tremendous pain. That's why I would tell people, you know, it's fun to play video games. It's fun to have hobbies. But at the end of the day, walk around. Go outside. Get some vitamin D. Get some sun in you. Do something. Keep yourself active. And that is one thing that has brought Boogie down heavily. It has brought him down to the T. He's unable to do a lot of this stuff because the last 17 years or so of his life, he has spent it inside of his house, you know, tending to his hobbies, having, you know, weekend sessions with his friends, which is fine and dandy. But you got to be able to do something. Keep yourself physically motioned, you know? You can't just sit around doing certain things. You got to be able to get out. You got to be able to do something. That's why his body is deteriorating the way it is. When he says that the doctors have done everything that they could for him, and he's got to do it for himself, yes, I guess mentally he can't. He doesn't know how to do that. But it's possible. It is possible. People have done it. Is Boogie capable of working? It's a heavily possibility, yes. He is capable of working. He just has to have that mindset to get up, get out, and do something. Now, I want to also mention on another note, and I'm going to bring it up also, I'm going to share the video, like I said, down in the description section about his girlfriend, his newfound love. Now, listen, there is an age gap with a lot of people. Look at a lot of Hollywood actors and actresses who have an age gap of like 30 to 40 years. Look at somebody like Robert De Niro or Al Pacino, and their spouse is like in their 30s or their 40s, and they're having kids by them. If it's perfect for them, if it's okay for them, why is it not okay for somebody like Boogie? That's where I do stand and defend Boogie. Like, he has found somebody who treats him well, who loves him, who wants to be with him. He doesn't want to be alone, and she feels in the same boat. She doesn't want to be alone either. She found him. She's not there for his money. Well, as far as we know, she's not there for his money, but if he's going broke, that doesn't mean she's leaving anytime soon, because if it was about his money, she would have left long ago and left him to die. But this is a couple that they click together. You know, it doesn't matter their age, okay? She is an adult. She's no longer a teenager. She is an adult. She can make her own decisions. Same thing with Boogie. Now, if Boogie was like 30, if he was like 40-something years old, and this girl was like 15, 16, 17, then there's an issue. That girl is still a minor. That should not be I don't even care if the parents gave them consent for it. Still, that's robbing the cradle right there, or another way of expressing it, you know. But you don't do that. You don't date somebody under the age of 18. They're still considered a child. Now, over the age of 18, depending on where you live, you're considered an adult, even though you're still a teenager. This girl, she's 20 years old. She's capable of doing for herself, as well as Steven does for himself. Now, one question I do have concern is, like, you see in the documentary, she's able to do yard work. She's able to work her lawnmower. She's trimming hedges. She's cleaning around the house. She's talking about how she helps him daily with his stuff. She helps feed the dogs and all. Okay, so if they're having issues with money, how come this young girl can't go out and get a job? If Steven can drive and she can't, I'm pretty sure he could drive her to work, go and pick her up and bring her home. That's always a possibility. So why can't this girl go out and work? What is her condition? You know, what's keeping her from going out and getting a job? Like, he has his excuses. What's her excuses? So at the end of the day, when your bank account is going broke from YouTube and you have no money and you're worried about losing the house and losing everything, you can still keep it. There's still ways of keeping your house. You gotta think smart about it. You gotta get out. You gotta do something. You gotta get a job. You gotta go out and work, make money somehow. I'm not talking about whoring yourself and shit, but there's ways of keeping yourself financially afloat rather than just sit there and worry if your next YouTube video is going to bring in $1,000 to $2,000 a week or a month. You got to keep ahead of the curve. And next, there's something else I want to talk about. And I couldn't believe that this is part of the documentary. Like, I feel like this section was added. as just a piece to make you feel more sorry for him, to make the documentary look so much more darker in his image. He's talking about going online and meeting random women, taking them out, paying for expensive dinners, buying them expensive items, taking them to movies, going to walks, going back to a motel room to fuck them. Like, seriously, this dude is, he's like fucking two of me. Yeah, I can fuck, yeah, but this guy's two of me. Like, he's showing like fucking under chins under his belly. And this guy, he's taking these random women who he calls models back to a motel room to fuck. Even Mike Clum, the director, he interviewed one of the women, and she was talking about how her experience was with him. She even said she had a hard time finding his Peter. She couldn't find his dick. Like, what does that say about all of that? Like, this guy, he came out a few months ago, and he's even told Kim behind the camera that he has low testosterone. Low testosterone, you ain't got no need for sex. There's no want for sex. There is no having sex. If your testosterone is low for somebody as big as you, there is no sex. So I feel like that part of the documentary was just forged in there as like a darker side, you know, to make his life look a little bit more darker. But come on. Like, you're gonna sink low to put something like that in there and say, oh, yeah, I go online and I scour these women. Like, you're stalking women, dude. Like, I can't sit there and say, I can't defend you on that. Like, you're stalking women online. You're looking at pictures of women online. You may not be stalking, but it's like you're shopping. You're basically shopping for a girlfriend, for somebody to spend time with one night. You're worried about your finances, but you're going online meeting random women. You're taking them out to dinner, and then you're taking them back to a motel room to have sex with them. You're paying them off, and they're doing it too. They're making it $5,000 what, a night, a weekend, or whatever. Like, come on, dude. Your money is running low. You can't be wasting your money on frivolous things like that. You paid a hooker to go out to dinner with you and then try to fuck you. And not only that, like, I'm also into hobbies myself. You know, collecting things as an adult can be a little, you know, it can be something to be a little cheery, you know, something that, like, I got a couple of action figures hanging up on the wall. I got some pop vinyl figures, but I don't go out and fritter my money away continuously on that stuff. You know, I work for a living. If I go to a store and I see something that catches my eye, if I want to get it, you know, if I feel like I got room enough to put it somewhere, you know, I don't try to hoard anything. But that's my choice if I want to do that or not. But he fritters his money away a lot on trading card games, action, you know, little toy figures and stuff. And that stuff is not cheap, guys. Let me tell you something. A box of Magic the Gathering cards, just a big box alone with a bunch of booster packs in it, that's $40 right there. For a new deck that comes out in a series, $15 a deck. That stuff, there's a fucking monopoly in trading card games. Now, I do play them. I do enjoy playing games. I love the interaction with people when I do play those games. But I don't fritter my money away consecutively on stuff like that. If I can afford it, or if I want to feel like I can play it, or I want to play it with somebody, I'll buy maybe a deck and I'll work with it. You know, I still got cards laying around somewhere. Maybe I'll do a video on those in the future. But this guy, he's got so much in his house, and he's trying to figure out how to sell everything, where to sell everything, where to take it to, just so he can live another month in his house. Like, that's the saddest thing. Like, he had all this money, and he ended up living the last few years. You know, it's like he had a nice, happy hobby. You know, he had friends over. He was enjoying himself. You know, he had the best of every world he possibly could. And then when his financial ruins come and hit him in the ass, everything goes downhill for him. And that's the saddest thing to see is, you know, he had all of this, and it's being ripped away from under him. And that's always the hardest thing when it comes to being a human being. Like, you can work hard for something that you need or something you really want in life. And then when you get to that point where you have it, something has a dramatic turn in your life, and that gets ripped away from you. And that's the sad notion in a lot of lives. You know, no matter how hard you work for something that you need or you want, in an instant, it can be ripped away from you. No matter how hard you work for it. And that is what's going on with Boogie's life. You know, he's not making a lot of money, and the reason behind it is a lot of things that he says. He is a very controversial YouTuber. He has said things on live streams. He's said things on Twitter, social media. He's used racial slurs. He's used slurs against, you know, homosexuals and stuff. He has a very dark sense of humor. I can take to his dark sense of humor because I have a dark sense of humor. Sometimes there's a limit, but even with that dark sense of humor, you don't put it out there for thousands of people to see. If that's your sense of humor, you keep it to yourself, unless you have somebody else who shares your same interests, and you keep it between you two. But you don't put it out on the internet for thousands of people to see, especially if you're a YouTube celebrity or internet celebrity, because that always has a way of coming back and hit you directly in the face. And that's what's happened here with Boogie. That's why his viewership is going down. That's why his subscriber base is going down. That's why he's in the hole that he's in. And this YouTube documentary is talking about his dark, sad life. Like, he's put himself in this hole. And a lot of people don't feel sorry for him. Like, I have respect for him for a lot of things. I really do. And I'll still watch his videos. I'll still support him. But then there's some things that in his life, I can say he could have done something to turn it around and made things better for him and whoever else is in his life. Just like right now, he can still go get a job. He can still go to school and get an education. He can still turn his life around. He has somebody who can help him turn his life around. But at the moment, there's laziness, and they just sit around and do nothing. And that is the sad, dark, tragic life of Boogie 2988 right there. It's not about these so-called hookers he pays to come and have sex with him. It's not about him not getting any viewership or getting any money off of YouTube. It's the sad fact that as a human being, he's not doing anything to keep himself going, to keep himself active. He's not taking that type of education in life. That is the sad, dark life of Boogie 2988 right there. Other than my opinion on his life, what do I think about the documentary? I think the documentary's done well. It was done very well, and it's definitely something that I would love to see a little bit more, especially with certain people, maybe. But a documentary sometimes is not 100% fact. They're always going to add some kind of detail to it, some mundane detail to it, to give it a little bit of spice, to make people feel more sorry for the character, or, you know, just to learn a little bit more about him. But when it comes to Steven Williams, Boogie, I still support you. I really do. I've been following you since the days of Francis. I loved your videos. I still watch them to this day. I still get a good chuckle out of them. But dude, you gotta learn to get your life in order. You gotta get yourself set. Now is the time. You just got through a whole court case. You've managed to stay out of prison for what you've done. This is only a little. This is only a little bit of fucking. You know, it's an object in the road of your life. This is just a little object in the road of your life. You know, it's a little obstacle. That's all it is. You, Steven Williams, you can overcome this. You now have help to get you through this. It's up to you guys to figure out how to use that, how to utilize that, and how to get through it. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today on today's video. I hope you guys like the content that I've been putting out. Like I said, once again, hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you guys want to follow on social media, on our Discord channel, or any of our other streaming platforms, Link for those are all down in the description section. Also, if you want to send any kind of donations to the channel, donations are accepted. Cash App link is right down below. Feel free to click that and donate at any time you wish. Thank you guys for watching once again, and I will catch you in the next one.